Hello everyone. Today on Money 9, we are discussing DIY investing. On Money Masterclass, we are joined by R.S. Srinivas Jain. He is Executive Director and Head of Strategy at SBI Mutual Fund. He'll help us decode mutual fund investments. If we look at mutual fund space, then we have more than 3,000 mutual fund schemes and new schemes keep getting launched. So as a first-time investor, how would a first-time investor know that which mutual fund scheme is most suitable for the person? And if they do, then how do they start investing in mutual funds?
Yeah, it's a good question, Parajita. Actually, mutual fund offers a plethora of choices, from relatively low risk money market mutual fund to a very high risk sectoral funds, right? So fund suitability is very much dependent on investor risk appetite, right? Basically it's dependent on the tenor of the investment that you want to do or the goal that you have, or the pure risk appetite that you have in mind. So we always advise to look at various options that are available before making any choice, because there is no one size fits all in the mutual fund industry. There are various places that you can go and look at it, right? One of the places to go and look at it is the mutual fund websites. Almost all mutual funds have. So there's a lot of literature around various funds that they offer. Second place is Amphi has a very good website called mutualfundsahiye.com, where tons and tons of literature, videos are available for new investors to know what is the right scheme that suits their particular requirement. One of the important things that mutual fund offers, very few other investment avenue offers, is systematic investment. This gives actually the new investor an investment opportunity to invest as low as maybe 500 rupees a month, and then actually test it out whether that is making sense for them before topping up or adding a one-time investment. So not only is it a easy entry to mutual fund, but it will also give them access to what all you can do with mutual funds and various varieties that's available. And you also spread your investments over a period of time, which is a smarter thing for new investors to do.
But how would an investor know that should they visit a mutual fund website, or should they directly log into apps like Grow, Paytm Money, then you have Zerodha Coin, lot of options available. So exactly how do they decide that should they approach a fund house or should they go for these new age fintechs?
I mean, the fact is, you can invest in mutual fund anywhere, whether you invest in a website of a mutual fund or you go to a fintech or you go to a universal portal that are available everywhere. There are portals available from MyCams and Karvi also allows you to do that, right? So there are various places, thanks to a plethora of choices that's available today. There are various choices. But from a content point of view, what I'm suggesting is that there are lots of content available. One central pool of content which is vetted by the entire mutual fund industry is mutualfundsahiye.com, where you can get a lot of content about where to start, how to start. After that, the choice of going to a platform or going to a mutual fund website is completely up to an investor. So if I were an investor who is self-directed, who understand exactly what is the element of risk he's taking and understand everything, maybe a mutual fund website, once you've identified which scheme and which fund, a mutual fund website is a good place to go. But if you want to make other choices, want to see multiple stuff, then maybe go through an advisory platform or go through a direct to customer kind of platforms that are available there. So it will be very difficult for me to say which is the right thing. It's very contextual and depending on the individual investors.
Okay, and market regulator SEBI recently said that all registrar and transfer agents have to create a platform, a common platform, and where mutual fund requests can be availed. So what exactly it is about? Who are RTAs?
So I mean, it's a very interesting question, right? So unlike banks, mutual funds have always had a centralized way of doing things. Our KYC was always centralized. So once you do a KYC for one mutual fund, you can invest in any mutual fund, right? There are no such instruments available for other markets. So SEBI has done a good job on all that. Now SEBI is trying to do one more step ahead, right? So as you said, RTAs are basically registrar and transfer agents. They are the safekeeper of all the accounts of mutual funds, right? So that the mutual funds don't have access to investor data. They have access to investor data, but all the record keeping of which investor, which fund, which scheme they belong to is kept at the RTA. One of the challenges that we've been looking at, because there is an explosion of mutual funds, more people are buying, is a centralized servicing capability, right? So So while you can buy and sell, you can go to individual websites or a distributor who do that for us. But if a self-directed investor wants to get more access to information, for example, he wants to change a bank account. There is a change in bank account. You have to go to SBI Mutual Fund and give a request. Then you have to go to another fund house that you invested to give a request. Now the regulators come up and say, why don't we build a standard processes so that again in one place, like KYC has happened in one place through a PAN base. Similarly, non-financial transactions and other service requests can happen in one portal. So we've been discussing in the industry to set up an individual, AMC wide, all AMCs put together, a central website where CAMS, CARVI and other RTAs will come together and offer services to customers for servicing. This is not for investments. This is largely from post-investment servicing. Things like change of bank account, transmission, all the non-financial transactions that are there, those things will now get centralized, and hopefully by end of this year, you'll have this platform ready and investors can self-service them much better than going to individual websites of AMCs or third-party platforms.
So is it like, so if I have a couple of mutual fund schemes running from different fund houses, so one from SBI Mutual Fund or any other fund house. Yeah. So if I visit that platform, then if I change my bank account, I can do it for all my schemes if needed. This is what it is about?
Absolutely. That's the idea. The idea is to make it easy for all of them to do it in a central pool rather than send service requests to major places. One of the things that they're doing is not just giving you one website. They've also said that there'll be an API available. So the same service may be available now in SBI Mutual Fund website tomorrow. When you come to SBI Mutual Fund website, you say not only SBI Mutual Fund schemes, thanks to this API, this data will now be pushed across to all other AMCs through the RTA. So one change can, affect everywhere else. Today also, I gave you an example. When you want to buy a mutual fund, you come to SBI Mutual Fund website, we have an online KYC, you finish your KYC. Once that KYC is done, that KYC is now done for all AMCs, not just for SBI. So later on, when you go and invest in any other mutual fund, you can automatically put your PAN number and make the investment. Similar kind of centralized setup is now coming for services.
And the benefit that fintech platforms offer a lot of mutual fund schemes are listed there, a lot of fund houses are there. So they have all their investments at one place. So if we talk about a direct mutual fund investor, so people directly investing in schemes and visiting fund houses website, then how do they collate all their investments at one place if they are taking direct route?
Well, I think so today mutual funds are not, while mutual funds are portable technically because all the data is available in a single place. For example, if you have, we have something called a common account statement that is sent across to NSDL, CDSL to anybody and everybody who has a mutual fund account every quarter once. That's one way to get all your statement in one place. Another way to do that is these fintech platforms and bank platforms who offer ability for you to connect your all other mutual fund accounts in one place and track your platform. You don't even have to do that. Today, there are options available in, let's say, value research or money control, or even the ones there is no transaction platforms. You can go there, put up your data, that is when you invested and what for the NAV, and you can track your entire portfolio on a daily basis. But one caution I wanted to give people, because the information is available for people to transact and look at the portfolio every day, I will not advise. Mutual funds are not like stocks that you need to look at your value going up and down every day. And you've got to be careful that more periodically review of your portfolio and periodically realignment of your portfolio is more important than trying to look at it like a stock that it keeps going up and down every day and the value goes up and down every day. Just because there is this behavior that I've seen in new investors, that they just look at these platforms and they say it went up by X% yesterday, it came down by X% today. Mutual funds don't work like stock. There is an underlying portfolio, and those portfolios also dynamically being changed by the portfolio managers. So you should not look at mutual fund like stocks per se.
Okay, so how do they decide that this is the time to sell? Investing in mutual funds is still simpler. But when do they decide? When they are seeing 20-30% crash, or exactly when to decide when to sell?
I think it's a pretty good question, and this question gets asked for me most of the time. Basically, I think there are 2 or 3 real reasons to sell a mutual fund. I think the one reason to sell a mutual fund is if you have a goal in mind for which you've invested in mutual fund and the goal is met, I don't see a reason to continue a mutual fund because you need that money for a particular reason, right? You save for that. So that's the one primary reason to look at selling a mutual fund. The second reason to sell a mutual fund is that the mutual fund per se is not aligning yourself to the goal expectation. So let's say I told you have to regularly review, and let's say you had some expectations in terms of risk and reward, and that's not really paying out. And that's one review that you need to do, because there are alternative ones that are available. Third reason to do that is the structural change a mutual fund goes through. If there is any disruption in the management, if there is any big change that is happening in the fund, if the fund is going through mergers, or if the fund is making a big change, or they are going through some regulatory issues, and that's another opportunity for investors to relook and think about whether a redemption is required in that fund. Other than this, I don't see any other reason why anybody should really look at redeeming their funds. Because if the alternative is not clearly known that what you need to do with it, redeeming the fund has no meaning, right? Because you've gone with a particular goal or intent in mind. As long as that is not achieved, I would suggest all investors to continue with the way they are investing.
Okay, and when we interact with investors, then we find out that some people have more than 6 or 7 or even more than 10 schemes in their portfolio. Then what is the correct number? How many schemes should one have in one's portfolio?
Yeah, I think it's again a very interesting question, right? So there is really no scientific, way to answer this. But if you were to look at it, why do we do this? We do this because there is diversification that we want in our portfolio. Having said that, the diversification for the sake of diversification is a bad thing, right? Too much of funds sometimes does not optimize your either risk or your return, right? Those don't make. One way to look at it is that if you have 2 large cap fund or a 2 small cap fund, that probably doesn't make much sense. Rather than picking a good quality large cap fund or a good quality small cap fund, and aligning your portfolio for the risk that you're taking, rather than trying to say that I will buy 3 large cap, 3 mid cap, because the dispersion of return between 3 funds in part of your overall portfolio will not add too much of value, right? So getting your asset allocation right is first, and then after that asset allocation, right amount of diversification is second. But over diversification and not aligning to asset allocations doesn't make any sense.
And what about FOMO? So a lot of NFOs keep coming, and you have at least 2-3 new NFOs coming each month now.
Yeah.
Then what about that?
NFOs are, it's hyped up more than required. NFOs have no meaning. The way NFOs are launched in mutual fund is not like a stock price that there is a listing and there is a listing gain. There is nothing like that in mutual fund. A fund is launched just because the fund has to start somewhere. It starts with an NFO, fund offer. Investing in an NFO, investing after an NFO has no difference for an investor as long as the conditions are the same. Let's say the NAV is 10 rupees today and NAV is 10 rupees tomorrow. It really doesn't make a difference, because in mutual funds, unlike IPOs, there is no listing gains that's there. The reason why NFOs have got a little more, because of the choices that's available. One of the things that are happening is a lot of international diversification is happening by investors today. And a lot of interesting in such products are available in the market, right? More and more new products are coming. And that's one of the reasons why more investors are interested in buying it. Of course, there's a little bit of a hype and FOMO around investing in mutual fund NFOs, but I think that's conceptually wrong. Investing in a mutual fund NFO is no different from investing on an ongoing basis as long as the conditions are right. So really no advantage of investing in an NFO, because
maybe logic that they give.
Yeah, logically, it's just about getting a new choice to invest, and the choice to invest is always available because the mutual fund will be open for subscription on an ongoing basis as long as it's an open-ended fund. In a closed-ended fund, there is a limitation that's not available later. So at that point of time, you can go and buy an NFO of a closed-ended fund. But otherwise, there is really no reason to invest in NFO.
And it's a general understanding, you don't need a demat account to invest in mutual funds. Some people have misconception, but a lot of people know that you don't need a demat account. But if someone already has an account and their brokerage house is offering them mutual funds platform on their, they have those mutual funds with them, then should they buy mutual fund units in demat form? What are the pros and cons of it?
I mean, mutual funds are already electronically held. That means there is no physical certificate. right? So it's already electronically held. That means you don't need, you can ask for a statement of account any day and you'll get it. You'll get it on email, you'll get it on whatever it is. So from a modality of holding, it's not a big issue. The one advantage Demat account has versus a e-statement that we give as mutual funds is that there is now centrally under one Demat account, you can have your stocks, your mutual fund and other securities. So from a one view perspective, it's a little more easy. Other than that, nothing changes, right? But the downside of holding it in a Demat is that buying a mutual fund through a Demat has two costs. One cost is, now that you're buying through an exchange, this Demat account or non-exchange also, you have some transaction costs depending on what the platform charges, brokerage or something else, what they charge. Second is the Demat itself has some holding costs, right? So there is a fund that you have to pay a minimum balance in case of there are certain thresholds. On top of it, if your holding goes up, the NSDL and CDSL has charges for this. So that charge from mutual fund is not there, right? When you are holding it directly with mutual fund, that additional charge that you pay for Demat account, that's not there, nor the transaction cost is there. But the benefit of having a Demat is that you get a one view of the whole portfolio. But nothing else changes. Buying, selling, the fund, what you buy, there is absolutely no change when you buy it through a mutual fund, units or electronic units. There is no otherwise units. There is absolutely nothing there. And this particular thing, buying through Demat, just gives you one view advantage.
And just to sum up, for a first-time investor, how many schemes and what sort of, just a suggestion that these are the schemes that you should have in your portfolio, a must-have?
There's nothing like a must-have. I think the way to think about this question is that once you've understood what each of the asset category like equity, debt, money market does, and also understand the risk of individual investment, sometimes it's a good idea to start with the low-risk funds like passive funds and like ETF or index funds to just understand. But I think as you get more mature over understanding how the mutual fund works, it's a good idea to look at some actively managed funds like large cap funds, multi-cap funds, eventually even small cap funds, depending on the risk profile. So the reason I'm not giving you a particular fund in name is simply because it is completely different for each individual investors. Having said that, one of the new trends that we have seen in mutual funds, we also offer at SBI Mutual Fund, is we have been able to offer our products as solutions, right? So it means when you buy a particular solution, that solution already has some embedded 1 or 2 or 3 different strategies built into it, right? These are usually investment packs or solutions that are available. So as first-time investors can actually also think about that. Like if it's a conservative investor, they can pick up a conservative stack product, which is the mix and match of equity, fixed income in the proportion of what they buy and various funds that allocate to them. So there are various ways to invest in mutual funds, but one way to do it is maybe SIP. Start somewhere, get your feet wet, understand what mutual funds is, how things work, and then as you get more mature, obviously you can invest more. But the golden rule is, if you do not understand, consult an advisor or online or offline advisor and get to understand what is a good product to buy which suits your requirement. But there's nothing like a good quality advice which will give you a good optimal investment. Otherwise, everything else that you're doing is just a lot of your individual research.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jain, for joining us today on Money Masterclass. To watch more such videos, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon. Also visit our website money9.com in Hindi and English. Thank you for joining in.